My sister and mother were the hosts of my grandpa's 90th birthday party. "Get your bag, we're leaving," my husband whispered into my ear. "Just act like everything is fine." I assumed he was being dramatic until he locked the car doors and said, "Something's very, very wrong." After 5 minutes, I called the police. I hadn't seen most of these people in 5 years, some even longer, and there were a few I was sure I had never met. A kid ran past me holding a paper plate like it was a steering wheel, and a plastic champagne flute was placed in my hand by someone. There were paper lanterns, folding chairs, and polite music playing from someone's Bluetooth speaker, all the ingredients for a quiet outdoor party. It was a little awkward but festive. For the first hour or so, it should have been fine, and it was. I pretended to be interested in the grape skewers while standing by the finger food table. My husband, Roger, stood next to me, holding a glass of white wine and watching the crowd with the unreadable, neutral expression he gets when he is too polite to say he wants to leave. Mom was in her element, dabbing her eyes, hugging people, and reapplying lipstick behind a napkin. Dad was sitting close to the grill, complaining about the weather as if it had personally wronged him. My sister Natalie was, as expected, not close to me. Her husband was laughing at something nobody else found amusing. It was Grandpa's house, but it no longer seemed like him. He had built it after his business took off. It wasn't flashy, but it was big enough for people to talk about how successful he had become. All of them, Natalie, her husband, Mom, and Dad, were living there now. I guess there was room. We had flown in from London the day before. For years, I had been asking when we could come to visit, but the answer had always been vague. "It's not a good time. He's not feeling well. Maybe next year." Then, this spring, Mom had said, "Come for his birthday if you really want to see him." So I accepted. I thought it meant something, that maybe she was softening. The party was already in full swing when they wheeled Grandpa out, his hair neatly brushed, wearing a sweater vest I vaguely recalled. Everyone applauded as if he had just walked a red carpet. I stood there frozen. He looked too good. His eyes were distant, and his face was smooth, as if he were half listening to a song that nobody else could hear. I waved, but he didn't wave back. I told myself it was because of his age. Mom leaned over and whispered, "He doesn't talk much anymore. It's difficult for him." I nodded as if I understood. She lifted her glass and began the toast, her voice trembling just enough to make it about her. She said, 90 years of love, wisdom, and generosity. He gave us this life. He built our family." A woman behind me muttered "beautiful" under her breath as some of the guests sniffled. Roger didn't clap. I saw he was staring. "Hey," I said quietly, nudging him. "What's wrong?" He didn't answer and continued to watch the man in the chair, or Grandpa, I suppose, as if he were memorizing every wrinkle. "Roger," I said again. That's when he leaned in. "Get your bag, we're leaving. Act like nothing's wrong." I actually laughed. "You're kidding," I said. He didn't smile, and his eyes didn't move. "Get your bag." "What are you talking about?" "Walk inside. Smile. Pack now." I just looked at him. "Roger, what is this? We just got here." He finally turned his head slowly to face me. "Something is very, very wrong." It was his calmness, not the way he said it, that made it seem like a fact, like gravity. My hands turned cold. I looked back at Grandpa. He hadn't moved. His hands were resting on the armrest like props. "Are you serious?" I asked. Roger didn't answer. He was already walking toward the house. I followed him upstairs. My heart was pounding and my mouth was dry as I fumbled with the zipper on my overnight bag. I kept thinking, if he's wrong, this is going to be so embarrassing. If he's right? We went out the front door and nobody stopped us. Nobody even looked up. Roger opened the passenger side door for me at the car, like a gentleman in a spy movie. We both got in. He locked the doors, then gripped the steering wheel and said, "That's not your grandfather." I used to wonder if I was just sensitive, dramatic, or liked to find reasons to feel left out, imagining the difference in how things played out for my sister and me. I told myself that for years, until the day Natalie turned 18 and the entire house behaved as if she were boarding the Titanic. She was at the front door with a duffel bag and a full tuition scholarship, and Mom kept saying, "You don't have to go. We'll manage. Please, just stay a bit longer," crying as if someone had passed away. 2 years earlier, when I turned 18, I got a nod and a suitcase. "You're an adult now. It's time to grow up. Go build your life," Dad said. No tears, no hugs, no offers to help me pack. I honestly don't want to sound bitter. I went to college and moved out. I just got on with things. But there's something about being begged to stay while your sister is ushered out the door like a polite guest that kind of sticks. The funny part is, I didn't even have a choice about college. Not because anyone told me to go, but because I needed an excuse to leave. My parents didn't contribute a cent. I don't even think they asked what I was studying. It was Grandpa who helped me quietly. He would send me a folded check and a note in his shaky handwriting every few months, just enough to get by. "Hope this helps. Proud of you." No lectures, no fuss, just that. He didn't owe me that, but he did it anyway. I remember him from the very beginning. Before I could even form full sentences, I had Grandpa. He would pick me up and tell me stories in a voice that always sounded like it knew secrets. He would make me toys out of wood and showed me how to use a hand plane when I was still in Velcro sneakers. He smelled like peppermint tea and cedar. Back then, it felt like he was mine, like I was his favorite. Maybe I was, but life is good at pulling people apart. A job turned into college. Roger turned into a job. And just like that, we were living in London. It wasn't some dramatic escape. It was opportunity, timing, and work. And if I'm being honest, maybe relief. Everything felt easier when I was far away. It was easier not to notice how rarely my parents called. It was easier to pretend the silence was just time zones. It was easier not to feel the weird hollow that always followed any conversation with Natalie, no matter how friendly it seemed. We kept in touch, sort of. The occasional Zoom call, holiday emails. The last real conversation I had with Grandpa was on one of those video chats. He was still sharp but looked older. He asked about his garden, and I asked about my work. He made a joke about squirrels stealing all his tomatoes. That was 3 years ago. Things got quieter after that. I would ask to talk to him, and Mom would say he was sleeping, or too tired, or not feeling well. Eventually, she stopped answering altogether. I told myself it was normal. People withdraw and age. Maybe it was difficult for him to talk, but something about it never sat right. So I didn't press it. I had a husband, a job, a life. I told myself it wasn't personal, that I hadn't been cut out, just politely, gently left behind. And then, all of a sudden, there was the birthday invitation, or rather, the permission. "Come for his 90th if you really want to see him," Mom had said on the phone. I booked the flights that night and didn't hesitate. I thought it meant something. I thought maybe this was the moment things shifted, that maybe I was being let back in. Instead, I walked into a party where I knew nobody, stood on grass that didn't feel familiar, and realized that somewhere along the line this whole place stopped being mine, if it ever was. They all lived there now. Natalie, her husband, Mom, and Dad. They had absorbed the house as if it were a natural extension of their closeness, their real family. I was just visiting the outsider. I kept telling myself I was projecting, that it was in my head, that I was being dramatic again. But then Roger leaned in and said, "Get your bag," and nothing felt imaginary anymore. We sat in the car like we had just escaped or committed a crime. I couldn't yet tell the difference. Roger's knuckles were white, and he was gripping the steering wheel as if he was waiting for it to bite him. I was still frozen halfway through buckling my seatbelt, as if none of this would be real if I didn't click it all the way. "What do you mean it's not him?" He didn't look at me. "I mean, it's not your grandfather." "That's... What are you talking about?" "I'm serious," he said, calm but not kind. "That man in the wheelchair, that's not him." I stared at him as if he had suggested the cake was made of uranium. "You think someone... what? Put on a mask? Like some Scooby-Doo villain?" "Not a mask. His ears are different." I blinked. "His ears?" Roger finally looked at me. "You don't get it. I remember faces, every detail I have since I was a kid. I can sketch a person I saw once at a train station in 2009. I don't forget ears or faces. That's not your grandfather." And just like that, my stomach turned to water. I wanted to laugh. Not the ha-ha kind, the unraveling, high-pitched, slipping off a cliff kind. My brain tried to logic its way through it, and I pressed my hand to my face. But what else could it be? Who else could it be? Roger looked back at the house. "Your uncle? What? Didn't you say he looked a lot like your grandfather when he was younger?" I did, I had, he did. But that was years ago. And besides, my uncle, he wasn't at the party, was he? He hadn't said a word. Plus, "Oh my God," I whispered. "He was wearing a beard and glasses, probably makeup. It wasn't over the top, but just enough. And I'm telling you, those ears, different shape, not even close." "Roger, I know," he said. "I know what I saw." I pressed my forehead to the window. My breath fogged the glass. My heart was rattling as if it was about to knock a hole in my ribs. I didn't want to believe him. I wanted to go back to when this was just a weird party, and I was the disappointment daughter, the uninvited guest, the out-of-town stranger. That version of reality felt so safe. "Then where is he?" Roger didn't answer. "Where is he?" I felt the question ripple through me like a fever breaking. "Where is Grandpa?" Suddenly everything tilted. The half-empty guest list, the awkward toasts, the crying, the way nobody let me get close to him, the way he never spoke, the way they shut me down every time I tried. "I haven't talked to him in 3 years," I said out loud. Roger glanced at me. "What?" I swallowed. "3 years. The last time was over Zoom. He looked tired. Then Mom said he was too sick to talk. Every time I called, it was, 'He's resting,' or 'He had a rough night.' I thought I was just being dramatic, but now I wasn't sure I hadn't been screaming into a void this entire time." "Okay," Roger said. "I think you need to call someone." I stared at him. "You mean the police?" He nodded once. "If we're wrong, we're not." I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I was picturing the look on Mom's face when I left, that tight little smile that didn't touch her eyes, the slight shake of her head as if I had dropped uninvited into my own life. "I'm going to ruin everything," I whispered. "Victoria," Roger said gently, "you're not the one who did that." I reached for my phone as if it weighed 1,000 pounds. My thumb hovered over the screen. And then I called. The police arrived faster than I had expected. 2 officers, quiet, plain clothes. They spoke to us outside the car. I told them what I could, which wasn't much, and made it sound as sane as possible, which wasn't easy. "I know this sounds strange, but I believe someone is impersonating my grandfather. I don't know where he is, and I think something's wrong." They asked questions, calm ones, the kind that feel like traps, even when they're not. Then they nodded and walked up to the house as if they were delivering a package. I stayed in the car and watched. The party didn't stop right away. Nobody screamed. Nobody ran. It was worse than that. Everything just dimmed, as if someone had turned the dial on reality down by a few notches. People still held glasses and smiled, but their shoulders were tighter now, their eyes darting. The officers began pulling people aside. I saw one of them speak to Mom. She looked like someone had told her the wine was keeked. Then she got defensive, gesturing and shaking her head. Her mouth moved fast, but her hands didn't. She wasn't touching anyone, not even Dad. He stood off to the side, staring at the hedge as if it held answers. I watched them talk to the man in the wheelchair. He didn't say a word. Then they must have asked for his ID. Mom went inside and came back with something. It didn't change anything. Then the officers knelt again, talking low. They carried that professional stillness, unreadable, composed, calm. Then one of them stood and walked away, the other stayed. Eventually, the man in the wheelchair looked up and said something, just a few words. Then he nodded. It wasn't over. Not even close. An officer came back to the car. "Can you stay nearby? We'll contact you soon." "Is it him?" I asked. "Is it my grandfather? We're still confirming some things, but you know it's not him." He didn't answer that. "We'll be in touch." Then he walked away. I sat there, feeling every second pressed down on me like, wait, where is he? Where is he? That night my phone rang again. How could you, Mom? Furious, screaming or crying, I couldn't tell the difference. You called the police on us. On your own family. You think you're better than us because you moved away. I tried to speak, but I couldn't. You don't understand. You weren't here. You didn't see what it was like. We did what we had to do for him, for all of us. What did you do? I asked, my voice breaking. Where is he? You don't get to ask that. Not now. Not after what you've done. Where is Grandpa? Silence. Then a click, and the line went dead. When the police came to our hotel room door the next morning, I thought I might throw up. Not because I was scared of them, though there was that too, but because part of me was still hoping Roger had just snapped, misread something, got carried away, mistaken everything, mistaken identity, mistaken ears. But they didn't come to question or arrest us. Of course, they didn't say it like that. They were professional, calm. One officer did most of the talking while the other watched me as if I might bolt. The family reports that Mr. Ellis passed away in March 2022. There's been a voluntary statement made. They claim it was natural causes. The body was privately buried. I sat down. I couldn't feel my fingers anymore or my legs. The words bounced off me like raindrops on a locked car. I heard them, but I just didn't absorb them. 3 years. 3 years. And I'd been sending birthday cards. I'd been asking for Zoom calls. I'd been wondering if I had done something wrong. If maybe Grandpa was mad at me for moving away. If maybe he was just too sick to talk. Just confused, just tired. No, he was gone. They didn't even tell me. They didn't tell anyone. I barely recall what I said to the officers. I think I asked if he suffered. They said they didn't know yet. I think I asked if the man at the party was my uncle. They nodded. I wanted to hit something, or scream, or crawl into a hole and never come out again. Instead, I said, "Thank you," like a polite idiot, like a good girl. The news started to trickle out online a few days later. At first, it was just whispers, a local gossip blog, Reddit posts. But then someone uploaded a video, shaky, grainy phone footage of the birthday toast, of my mother wiping her eyes, of my grandfather, no, not him, pretending to listen as if it were all real. This man died 3 years ago. His family threw him a 90th birthday party. Anyway, he was played by someone else. The internet did what it always does. It laughed, then it speculated, then it tore us all to shreds. I didn't read the comments, not after the first 20. Apparently, I was everything from an ungrateful brat who should have just let her family cope in peace to an accomplice to a narcissist. People had opinions. People always do. Then came the call from the lawyer. Not their lawyer, his, Grandpa's. "Victoria, I've been trying to reach you for some time." I nearly hung up. "Your grandfather left his estate to you, the house, the business assets, the remainder of the trust, everything." My throat went dry, and I stared at the floor, at the stupid grout line in the kitchen tile that never quite lines up. "This wasn't a secret," he added gently. "He told your mother, your sister, years ago." And suddenly the pieces clicked. The secrecy, the lies, the fake parties, the man in the wheelchair. They hadn't just been hiding his death. They'd been hiding it from me because if he was dead, the estate was mine. And if I didn't know, they could keep living in his house, keep using his money, keep pretending I didn't exist. I called my mom. I didn't know what I wanted. Maybe answers. She picked up on the second ring. "How dare you?" Her voice shook with fury. Not shame, not grief, rage. "You called the police on your own family. You humiliated us. You have no idea what you've done." I tried to speak, but she didn't let me. "You don't know what it was like. You weren't here. You left. You gave up on this family, and now you swoop in and act like some hero." "Where is he?" I interrupted. Silence. "What happened to him? What did you do with his body?" "You don't get to ask that," she said coldly. "You weren't there." "I asked every year," I said. "You lied." "We were protecting him, protecting you. He wanted peace. He didn't want a big deal made of his death. I laughed. Actually laughed. It came out cracked and bitter, like something broken under pressure. You didn't protect him. You looted him. That's when she hung up. Weeks passed. The investigation moved slowly, then faster. There were subpoenas, interviews, statements. Eventually, the coroner confirmed what my family had claimed: natural causes. My grandfather had died in his sleep. No violence, no poisoning, no trauma, just an old man's quiet end. I cried for the first time since the police visit because finally I could mourn him without a doubt. But there was still the fraud, the impersonation, the money. Charges were filed: failing to report a death, withholding information, identity deception, illegally accessing funds. They didn't get prison time, they got probation, conditional, monitored, sternly delivered. If they slipped again, they'd go straight to jail. My uncle, the actor, faced his own charges, but he cooperated. That seemed to help. He got probation like the rest of them. And me, I got the house, the whole property, the assets. It wasn't wildly extravagant. Not billionaire level, but it was a lot, enough to explain why they'd pretended for so long. I didn't throw them out. The courts did. They moved out in silence, no eye contact, no apology. My mother left a note behind on the kitchen counter. It said, "You always were good at taking what you didn't earn." I burned it in the sink. The first night I spent there alone, just visiting before heading back to London, I sat in Grandpa's chair. I put my feet on the table and opened a bottle of wine. The place was quiet, still smelled like wood polish. I didn't feel angry anymore, or vindicated, or even triumphant. I felt dismissed, and for once in my life, I didn't feel like a stranger. I haven't spoken to my sister or my parents since, not even a text. Sometimes I wonder if I went too far. Other times I wonder if I didn't go far enough. Let me know what you think. And if you want more stories like this, tap the bell and hit subscribe.